Oh, there we go. I did it. I unmuted. Jay, grateful to be an alcoholic, powerless over alcohol. My dry date is October 16, 2000. I believe I got sober by the mercy of God, and I stay sober by the grace of God. I moved to Florida from the New York City area in 1997, and I said my sobriety date is 2000, but I've been going to the same home group in Boca for 25 years. It took me a little while of slipping and sliding, but I did most of my damage. I'm going to tell you what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. That's what I was taught by my sponsor, who has a sponsor. It's so amazing. Thank you, Stephen, for asking me. You know, I feel as though I know Stephen, and I know the people I've met on this venue, as well as I know my close friends that I've grown up with in this program. I really do. I've met some of the people that I met through this process last couple of years in person, and I plan to do more. My whole bucket list has changed. We'll get to that a little later on. My bucket list is to go to Kingsport, Tennessee, Buffalo, New York, 2 places I've never been, to meet all my friends that I've made here. And I can't wait to make those journeys, you know, make that journey. Anyway, there was a guy that somebody asked, either Phil or Stephen asked to speak on this. I'm not sure which. His name is Peter M. And he kind of told my story. It's about a few months ago, he was speaking, Peter Marinelli. And I met him down here, and he's kind of a circuit speaker, but I didn't really, the last time I heard him on, it must have been on a Saturday night, because I believe Phil asked him. And he kind of told my story. When I was 11, all I wanted to do was drink and drug and hang out with the older guys, hang out with the wise guys. And I couldn't wait to get my first drink. And I started blacking out probably around 13, 14. And I went to my first institution at 12 or 13, reform school. Of course, I was incorrigible. My mom reported me to the cops, and I had to go away. And that was my first one. And I met a guy named Jimmy Lehman. James Lehman passed about 12 years ago, and he died with 25 years. And I met him about 40 years ago. No, about 35 years ago, something like that. He was my counselor. Some of you may have known James Lehman, maybe not. A lot of people down in Florida did. He moved down here. He was from Maine. But yeah, so that was my drinking. I don't like really to talk about it that much. I would always tell the last institution I was in was a psych hospital in Philly. Don't know how I got there. Do not know how I got to Philadelphia. Was for a psychiatric hospital for drugs and alcohol, and there was a gambling counselor there. Gambling's a part of my story as well, and it gets into my recovery. But so that was my last. I fell in love 3 times in that institution, and the lucky winner sold her home and divorced her husband, and we stayed together for a couple of years before I escaped from her, because she became my problem. Alcohol was not my problem. She became my problem. And I think she reached out to me a couple of times on Facebook, but I don't really go on that, so I don't know. So that was 25 or 27 years ago, something like that. And that's how I wound up down here. One of the other ones, the second one I was in, I was getting picked up in New York City quite a bit for my drinking solid alcohol and my dispensing solid alcohol. And I went to a therapeutic community based on the Synanon and the Daytop Village one, and they gave us alcohol privileges, if anybody's familiar with that. When I tell younger people that they gave us drinking privileges, they go, what? What? You know, drinking privileges. Yes, they gave drug addicts drinking privileges back in the day. And they said if you have a drinking problem, if you don't have a drinking problem, you could get drinking privileges when you go into this next part of the program. But I always admitted to having a drinking problem. I couldn't deny it. I never took my drinking privileges because I grew up from the first one. I was basically a blackout drinker. And I liked the feeling produced by alcohol then, and then it got me. Obviously it got me. But what happened was the men in Alcoholics Anonymous, the first 3 years rolling around Boca Raton, I got married, or I got engaged to be married from a girl in the program. And I was drinking 90 days before the date of the wedding. And she busted me drinking and gambling. And she married me anyway, against the advice of my sponsor. And my sponsor then is my sponsor now. And on October 16th, 2000, or October 17th, 2000, when I went to my home group and admitted drinking again, my sponsor said, if you drink again, I'm not going to be able to sponsor you anymore because it won't be working. And he said it in a loving way. He said that in a loving way, and I didn't want him to not sponsor me anymore. And I still don't want him to not sponsor me. He's still sponsoring me. And he said, if you go out one more time, I can't sponsor you. And that was huge. And then he took me through the steps in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And we did it page by page, first 164 pages, and we did the 12 steps. I admitted the third step with him, took the third step prayer with him. In the parking lot, I shared it last night when we celebrate the anniversaries on the last Monday of the month, and I reminded myself that we did the third step prayer in a parking lot in front of a Thai restaurant, and it was very spiritual for me. And I also gave him my fifth step in a similar spot, maybe a few parking spots away. And after I gave the fifth step, that was really an amazing burden lifted. I had never really shared any of the secrets growing up, what happened to me. And now it's very, very easy for me to share my experience, strength, and hope with people. It's what brings me joy. Sponsoring guys. I don't sponsor too many, but I'll continue in order because my story has a little bit of peaks and valleys. You know, I did make a connection with God working those steps. And I divorced that girl. I married that girl, divorced that girl. And 5 years later, she drank. She had a couple years on me and she picked up a drink and she's been slipping and sliding since. And then I went to Al-Anon. I became friends with a bunch of guys. And I was doing okay. And I was going to another fellowship for my gambling. And then I decided that fellowship wasn't as good as AA. And I really found out that I was thirsty for a bet. I really wasn't. I really needed that fellowship, and I left. And the disease of alcoholism in all its forms is very cunning. And I claim recovery from my gambling date, which is a lot later than my dry date. But because the double life that we read about in the big book, I was living a double life. I was walking around like a sober man, and I was lying, cheating, and stealing and gambling with my third wife. That was my third wife. I won't even talk about my first wife because she came before I found AA. And she and I are friends. And my last wife, who's got 30 plus years in Al-Anon, took me to I met her in Al-Anon, and I was in Al-Anon because I grew up in that alcoholic home. And you know, I just found the connection, working the steps with a power greater than myself. I call God, and I met a man beside my sponsor. His name was Dennis O. And he got sober before I was born. And he passed in 2017, and I call him my spiritual advisor. And I have his mass card up, and I have my dad's picture up. I have my other friend, Frankie D's mass card up, and I converse with these men on a daily basis. And I didn't lose that. But Dennis really helped me. My home group is a men's meeting in Boca, not the Men on Track, although I got a lot of help from the Men on Track. The late great Ben T was important in on my journey as well. The men really saved me. The women too, but the men were much more loving on me, meaning they were very, very patient. I was not very lovable in the beginning. And I didn't know that I had an ego. I really didn't know. I thought I was a great husband, a good dad, a good worker. I was none of those things, really. I was really none of those. But my ego was such that I thought I was really good at everything. And I knew everything, and I was really good at everything. And wasn't really the case, wasn't really the truth. The truth of the matter is I was scared, selfish, self-centered to the extreme, and scared. And most of my problems were usually of my own making, which I heard this morning. I go to a Buffalo men's meeting in the morning, 7:30 in the morning on Zoom, and I get all the strength for my day from that meeting. It's just a miracle how this thing works. There's a guy on this meeting that I met that always says, I could have missed this thing. And, you know, I came this close to missing this thing. And I live my life like that, you know. I really, truly live my life like that. If everybody didn't help me, I couldn't ask for help, but I got so much help that I didn't even know I was getting help in the beginning. Dennis would always ask me, how was my way working when I was still drinking? Every time I would come back, he would just keep asking me the question in a loving way. And he was a pretty rough guy. He was like not like a gangster. He is a gangster, you know. And he told me once he broke all 10 commandments. And I go, and he was this loving guy, and we would go out for breakfast, a bunch of bikers, a bunch of construction guys, and some of us had shirts and ties on. And we would start praying over breakfast in a Denny's. And we would pray over lunch, and we would pray over dinner, and everywhere we go, we would pray. And Henry the Problem would tell me, always told the story about Dennis, that he asked Dennis if he could help him, and Dennis told him no. So if you ask Henry if he can help, if he would be able to help you, he would say no. And if somebody asked me if I can help him, I would also say no. But I will take you where I go for help, is what Dennis taught us. He instilled that in us. And when he would talk, Dennis, he would say, our very lives as ex-problem drinkers depends upon our constant thought of others and how we may help meet their needs, which is a quote which is written in the big book on the top of page 20. And he instilled that in me, and he instilled that just love them. And what are you doing for other people right now? Where is your thought? Our very lives as ex-problem drinkers, it never left me. It never left me. I didn't know why I wanted what he had, but eventually, it took 3 years, but eventually I wanted what the men in that meeting had. And clearly it wasn't, you know, women and money and all of that. It was peace and serenity. And, you know, I have that to a great degree today. And my journey did take a little detour into the depths of darkness in the gambling world. And for another time, I thought I was doing well. I thought I was a sober guy, even though I was lying, like I said, cheating, stealing, and I had to get busted by my wife again in order to seek God's hand in my life. I was so far away from God at that moment. It's only about 6 years ago now that I had to start over again back in that other group. And I found a sponsor who in that other group. So now I have 2 sponsors. And I need them. I need both of them. And I need all the people on all these meetings to help me. And I ask God on a daily basis. I go to God before I go to that meeting at 7:30 in the morning. I do a bunch of reading. I'm bad at writing. My sponsors want me to do a little more writing than I've been doing. So I'm praying for the willingness to do a little more writing at this time. And I have a lot of friends. You know, I don't have a lot of money, but I have a lot of money. I don't have a lot of, you know, things, but I have a lot of things because I have all the friends that I have. There are guys in my journey, there were men that helped me when I was down. We had another fellow last night that I've known for 25 years, and he shared his story last night. And he said he was down and he felt the peace when he was down financially. You know, he does pretty well financially, as I do. You know, I should never say that I don't have money, because I'm definitely blessed in all areas of my life. You know, I sometimes forget that. You know, I sometimes am so egotistical that I forget what blessings I've been receiving and continue to receive on a daily basis. I have so much love in my life from the men and women in AA, not only in South Florida, but in Southwest Florida, in Buffalo, New York, and in Tennessee, and all over the country from this. I've been to Toronto. I was hearing the people before the meeting talking about Toronto. I went to my first international in 2005 in Toronto. And there was, the guy just died. That was the speaker, the Saturday night speaker. He just passed. But he was the warden. The guy was the warden, and there was all these people in the football stadium. If you've never been to an international, you might want to try to get to one. It was just an amazing experience. And I went with my ex-wife, my friend Frankie D, and his wife. And it was an experience. We were getting divorced. My wife and I were getting divorced, and we went to Toronto. She wouldn't let me go to Toronto without her. And we were in the midst of a divorce, but we went, and I had the time of my life, even though we were getting divorced. And my friend, I got close with my friend Frank on that trip, and he's since passed as well. But we would go around to meetings on a daily basis. We would ride motorcycles to meetings. And we would look for girls, even though he was married, maybe I was married, and we would still look for girls. So that wasn't really spiritually fit. Um, but we did have a lot of fun. And as I said, I thought I was a good husband. Even when I was doing that kind of thing, I was just so deranged, so mentally defective that I really was delusional. You know, it talks about that in the forewords. Talks about some of the different types of alcoholics, and some of us are outright mental defectives. It talks about there. And sometimes I think when I get to thinking that I could think my way into a drink now, I'm pretty sure I could think my way into a drink now. And I'm afraid to do that. When I first got here, they said that the road gets more narrow, and I had no idea what that meant. And I'm learning now, because this is the most important thing that I do. My recovery is the most important thing that I have in my life. Every moment of every day is a gift. Every time I thank God when I get up first. First thing I do is thank God that I got up. And every breath I take is a gift, because I don't know how to breathe life into me. God breathes the life into me. And I love to help. I love to help out. My sponsor gave me a direction early on: do 3 nice things for people. He said it usually does 5 nice things for people, but he said just do 3 nice things for people and don't tell anybody. See, doing the 3 nice things was not the difficult part of the assignment. The difficult part for me in the assignment was not telling anybody about it. And I had real trouble with that. I had real trouble with doing nice things for people and not bragging on myself about it. I wanted to tell you what a nice guy I was, which basically negated the kindness. If I was doing kindness just to talk about it, then I wasn't being kind. I was being self-centered. And it took a lot of step work, a lot of prayer and meditation. And really, it's very simple. This program is really, really simple. I pray to stay honest today, because my disease will trick me into betting, lying, stealing. This guy shares, he has about 40 years, and he shared this morning that he doesn't lie, cheat, and steal near as much as he used to. And I just love that, because I can identify with that. I practice honesty. I have to do 10 steps sometimes when I do lie. And I would lie when the truth would do. I hear that every morning, pretty much. I've told lies when the truth will do. What'd you have for lunch? Oh, I had a salad. I don't think I've ever had a salad, but I've told people that I've had a salad. And they really don't care what I had for lunch. They were just like making a conversation. But sometimes I would just lie about it for the heck of it. And then I would have to say I lied, or admit to God and myself and another human being that I did that. And that's helpful to me. You know, the humility that I can experience after I had to tell somebody that I lied, it's worth it. It's worth it to me, because then I would try better not to do that. I'll try next time not to do that as much, because it's kind of not fun to say I lied when I'm supposed to be this sober man. You know, and I hurt my family. I'm not proud of my behavior. You know, but God forgave me, and I forgive myself, and I forgive everybody that hurt me. I like to talk about my dad a lot. He didn't have the blessing that we all share here of the 12 steps. When I was in that treatment center, he said he went to 90 meetings in 90 days of AA with my aunt, who's celebrating 40 years in April. She's not really my aunt. She's my mom and dad's friend from school or whatever. And we called her aunt. And she's gonna have 40 years in AA. And so my dad went with her for 90 days, but he was drinking a 5th a day. And he said he didn't drink. And he would have seized that. He would have died of a seizure if he didn't drink for those days. But he's convinced he didn't drink for 90 days. And he read the part in the big book where it said maybe he was just a heavy drinker. He said, yeah, I'm a heavy drinker. He decided he was a heavy drinker and not an alcoholic. And I could easily spot my father's defects of character. And I turned out exactly like my father. Exactly, 100%. I have alcoholism. He never believed that he had alcoholism, so he didn't, but I do. And I was a lot like him. The last time he never got this gift. He never got this gift, which is such a shame because it's free. Alcoholics Anonymous is for fun and for free. And he did have the seed. He did have the answer. Somebody gave him the answer for 90 meetings in 90 days, but he left it there. And I left it there for quite a long time as well. In and out of dryness. You know, I didn't pick up a drink since October 16, 2000, but I did lie. I did cheat. I did steal. And I could have drank. And I was on death's door without taking a drink. So, you know, I have a lot of friends in Alcoholics Anonymous. Some friends outside of Alcoholics Anonymous, but they don't really understand. They don't really understand. We're like people on a ship, on that ship that's going down. You know, we held it together. We survived alcoholism to today. And I need you, and I think you guys need me. You know, no, Henry saying no, but no, you guys don't need me. No, I need you. That is true. I need you guys, all of you, every single 184. I'm glad I'm not gambling now because I was looking for 200, but you know, that never served me. But all 183 of you and me, I need all of you. I don't know which one I'm going to use. I don't know which one's going to help, which one's going to say the wisdom. Mostly newcomers help me. Really, I spoke to a guy, I took him to a meeting. He's not sure he's one of us. I am. Most people don't wind up here if they're not one of us, you know. And his family his wife is kicking him out. His wife's kicking him out, but he's not sure he's one of us, which is, you know, I identify a lot with him. He teaches me everything. That man taught me everything. I met him and brought him to a meeting and took him to his first meeting, and he's not done. I wasn't done. My first meetings, I was not done. I did not want what you guys had. I wanted what I had, and I got it. I kept getting what I had over and over and over again. I started to get that pathetic feeling, you know, that Henry says, that warm feeling, you know, it was pathetic when people were telling me what I did the day before, and I really had no idea. I really had no idea. If you've ever been in a blackout, if you've ever drinking in a blackout, you know what I'm talking about. I had no idea. And the people weren't lying to me. They were telling me my behavior the day before. And I drove home, and I don't know how I drove home. My friend Jimmy Ray says he threw bricks at cars. He was so angry. I think I hit cars. You know, I think I hit parked cars driving and never made that amends and never got caught doing that. Never had they were talking about DUIs this morning in the meeting. And I don't have a DUI. I want to tell one drinking story, then I'll get back to the solution again. But I do want to tell this because I don't know that I shared this. I thought of this morning when they were talking about that. I didn't have a driver's license. I was about 15, and I stole a buddy's car. And in those days, they didn't have your picture. They didn't have your picture on the driver's license. They just had your name. So it didn't have my name on the license that was in the vehicle. It wasn't me. But that's the license I gave to the police when the guy said he was chasing me for 3 miles with the lights on. I said, really? You were chasing me for 3 miles with the lights and the sirens on? Because I was drunk and blacked out, I suppose. And I didn't get a DUI. he got a ticket. My buddy, whose car I stole, got a ticket, but I didn't get a drunk driving ticket. It's a funny story, but I think he wanted to kill me. I think my friend wanted to actually kill me for doing that, but you know, I thought it was just another day in the life of me. You know, well, what was I supposed to do? Tell him tell him I was 15 or 16, didn't have a license or anything? What? I thought it was perfectly normal to do that, and he wanted to kill me. I don't know what happened. He's not my friend anymore. Go figure. Uh, we didn't stay close after that. And that was my life, and pretty much all the things that I've done. While I was not in my right mind from alcohol, you know, Dennis used to teach us. I didn't lie, cheat. I didn't drink to cover. I didn't lie, cheat, and steal to cover up my drink, and I drank to cover up my character defects. Okay, my lying, my cheating, and my stealing. And Dennis shared it before, and it just fit for me. Dennis used to share it. I was a liar, a cheater, and a thief, which is basically what I've been sharing about my pattern as well. I guess there are some alcoholics that never stole. That's not my story. And to me, stealing is the lowest thing. Alcoholic, gambler is the lowest form. If you look in like some religious readings and stuff like that, gamblers and alkies are really low. We're low life. We're low lives, you know, on the scale of things. But we're really not today. Not today. Not with the glory. You know, all the glory of every day that I have without having to take a drink, because I couldn't stop drinking. I don't know about anybody else, but I could not stop drinking. And I couldn't stop doing all those other character defects either. And my journey's been a long journey to be right here, right now. But it's a day at a time. I've listened to many circuit speakers, many speakers, and many speaker tapes. And you know, I'm not sure that this is great that to speak for 45 minutes or 50 minutes in a row. But I love all the speakers that I've heard here on these Kingsport meetings, on this Serenity Improvement Group. And what hooked me in, besides that I love Stephen, what hooked me in was they say, if you're not having fun, why don't you come to this group? If you're not having fun in your sobriety, if you're not enjoying your sobriety, why don't you come here and we'll help you with that. They promised me that. If you're not having fun in your sobriety, then come here and we're gonna help you with that, and they have. And the speakers, that lady who said my dry date, she was a nun. I forget all her story, but she was a nun and she was having sex and, you know, she was just, and not drinking. And that's like me. I identified with her. I wasn't drinking, but I really wasn't getting much better. You know, I did help people. I did sponsor men. I do sponsor men. But when I was falling and living the double life, nobody was asking me to share my experience, strength, and hope in meetings. And they used to, in the beginning, when I was on fire for AA and not doing all that lying, cheating, and stealing, and I was working the steps of recovery, and I was inviting God into my life, and I was taking God where I went. You know, Henry says, you know, God's a gentleman. He's not going to go where he's not asked. If you don't ask him in, he's not coming. You know. So I had to ask God in, but I left God out there, and I made the money and other things my master, just like alcohol was my master. Alcohol is a power much greater than me, much greater than me, and so was some of that other behavior when I was walking. They say we're either walking towards a drink or away from a drink, or we're either walking towards God or away from God. For a time, I was walking away from God simultaneously, thinking I was walking with God or towards God, but that was kind of deceptive. But I don't worry about what I did yesterday. I worry about what I do today. That's just the secret of AA to me. The speakers told me God is right now. Dennis told me God is love. All these 12 steps are about God, or about love, and then God, or God and then love, because to me they were interchangeable. And all this program is about love. And Dennis would teach me, and my sponsor would teach me, all they want is love. Just listen to her. Just listen. Shut your mouth and listen to your wife. Just love your wife. And to the best of my ability, I've been working steps again. I work traditions. We were talking about the concepts. My friend Chuck and myself, Chuck from Buffalo, who I have met in person, we share on a deep level. My early sobriety, I wasn't sharing on a deep level. I did the steps to the best of my ability, as deep as I could go. I didn't hold on to much, like I shared earlier. I don't mind saying how I grew up or how traumatic experiences. I can share all that. I used to hold on to a secret. When I was a young boy, a man molested me, and I never told my family, and I tried to extract revenge on him. But I was too far gone myself into my own alcoholism. But that doesn't bother me to share any of that. That doesn't bother me today. It used to bother me. I used to think I couldn't share that. Now I can share anything. Step one took me a long time to get honest with myself. But you know what? Every single day, I am blessed to have 178. I must have lost a couple. All right. It's hard to hold an audience for 45 minutes, but I just love Alcoholics Anonymous. I love the people here. I'm surprised at myself, resentments. We talk about resentments, and we do some readings on that morning meeting, and we have a meditation on Wednesday morning. I'd like to invite the men to that. I would invite the women. If you don't turn your camera on, I guess the women could come too. But I guess we'd never know. Put up some fake name, some masculine name, and don't turn your camera on. I guess you could sneak in, but it probably wouldn't work out for you guys doing that. And but it works out for me. I'd like to invite the men in there. On Wednesday mornings, we have a 5-minute meditation. And then we do all the readings, the 3rd step prayer. And then we do a vision for you at the end of the meeting. A vision for you really sums it up. It tells us at the end on page 164, see to it that your relationship with him is right, and great events will come to pass for you and countless others. Now, I came on here on a Saturday night, and I heard a young lady talk. All she talked about was the big book, and I loved her share. I just loved her share. She did for 45 years. She stopped a little bit early, like I'm gonna do, but all she did was quote the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, the first 164 pages, and she identified each and everything that she shared about. And I was really, really impressed, with her excitement about AA. And I feel the same way. I'm very, very excited about Alcoholics Anonymous today. I have an opportunity to be of maximum service to others. And that's what gets me going now. That's what I live for. And I have heroes. My friends are my heroes. My friends that go for cancer surgery, gonna have a kidney removed on Friday. It's like, yeah, well, I'm gonna have a kidney. I'll probably play golf, next week after I get my kidney out. But, it's like it's another day. It's another day. And he's just so in touch with God. You know, my friends and I, we pray, we ask God in to our lives on a daily basis. When I'm in trouble, it's because I'm not with God. I left God somewhere and I'm trying to take the control of a situation or another person. And never works out very well for me when I do it that way. And that's been my my drawback. I can't tell you really, guys, it's so wonderful to come on. I wish I could hug all of you, but I get it on here. I have a new slogan for Zoom. I have a new slogan for Zoom. Somebody shared it in a meeting I was at. They said that they got clean on the screen, and I stole that, and I stay clean on the screen with all of you. And you know, if you told me 2.5 years ago that I was going to do virtual meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous, I would have told you you're crazy. I'm not doing that. That doesn't count. You know, meetings on a computer doesn't count. You gotta go clean ashtrays and make some coffee and stuff like that. Be the chairman. That means put the chairs up. That doesn't mean run the meeting. That means clean up and all of that. And I'm just so happy that Stephen asked me to do this. I hope he never asks me. I hope Phil doesn't ask me anymore. And I heard Phil a few weeks ago. He was great. Everybody I hear on here does a great job. And I really appreciate the opportunity, Stephen. And I'm really looking forward to going to Tennessee. I'm going to wait until, you know, the temperature warms up a little bit. And we'll see you there. Thank you.